the base currency, has to be stronger than the quotes. I hope we've written that. Then the last but not the least, this is more like a bonus. Timing, and this is where most people get it wrong. Timing. Under timing, right? It's either at the hourly, half hourly, or quarter timing. That's like 15 minutes, 30 minutes. You know, if you say half an hour, that's 30. Quarter of an hour is 15 minutes. So the timing is either at the 15 minutes, the 30 minutes, or the hour. So when we say on the hourly, like that's like on the clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, those are timing. So when you say half hour, like right now, this is 8:54. The next timing, if you're going by hourly, should be 9 o'clock. So if I was taking the strategies, either I'm taking it at 9, 9:30, 9:15. I hope we get that timing. If you understand what I just said now, drop some 7s on the chat box very quickly before we now go into the strategy proper. If you understand that timing I just explained, drop those 7s, right? Now, whatever energy you give me is what you get. We have about 55% of the call, so I should be expecting about at least 53 responses. That way we know whether you understand or not, or whether we should proceed. All right. Okay, so let me go over it one more time. Please pay attention, so that by the time I start explaining, I won't have to take it all over again. The conditions for a buy. The conditions for a buy. Number 1 is that you major on the uptrend. Number 2, where are all the green support areas? Remember on your academy, you buy at support. So where are all the green support areas? 3 things I mentioned was the EMA must be below the candles. Thank you. In fact, this person is amazing. Omalade, oh, powerful mentee of mine. Thank you. So somebody just paste all the conditions on the chat box. I think you can go there and screenshot. You know, go to the chat box right now. Omalade dropped that. If you did not understand, it's on the chat box now. We've not started explaining. You're already saying you don't understand. How? Just write the conditions. When we explain, you understand. All right. Now for the sell conditions. So for the sell conditions, right? What you want to do, write this down also. Hopefully someone will help us drop it on the chat box. Sell conditions, still on the double blessing strategy. Remember, it's like an 8-point system. So number 1 is that you major on the downtrend. This chat box is getting interesting. Number 1, major on the downtrend. All right. Meaning when you want to sell, you're looking to sell a downtrend. Number 2, where are all the red resistance lines? The red resistance lines, those are the things you want to, those are the areas you want to sell. That's number 2. It's just the opposite. Number 1, the major trend must be a downtrend. Number 2, where are all the red resistance zones? Yes, opposite of the buy, exactly. Then number 3, the EMA, in this case, has to be above the candles. That's like the third point. The 4th, the super trend has to also be above the candles. Notice how everything, when you want to sell high. So that's why everything has to be above for a sell. Now the stochastics must also be at the that red line, or you can put red ceiling. The same thing as RSI, it must also be at the red line. So everything on the buy, this time around, change it to red where you're seeing green. And all those below, just change it to above. I hope you understand that. So the RSI must also be at the red ceiling. Now for the currency strength, in this case, the quote has to be stronger than the base. Everybody here would have gone through the academy video. You know that so you to sell, your quote currency has to be the one that is stronger, right? So, and the last but not the least is the timing. So the timing still remains hourly, half hourly, quarterly. That is 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour. So if everybody understands this buy and sell conditions before we now move into the detailed explanation, drop some tools on the chat box. Drop some tools. If you have the point systems for this buy and sell, please drop those tools on the chat box. All right. Drop the tools. The tools I'm seeing are not so many. Remember, about 53 responses. Okay, great. So using this point as our guide, I think we can now go into the strategy. I'm still sharing my screen, right? Can somebody please indicate whether I'm still sharing the screen? Just indicate a yes if you can see my screen. And if it's on the strategy, put a yes. All right, thank you. All right, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so now looking at the screen, you can see the alert panel on the side. There is an alert panel, right? And that alert panel is where you see the signal to whether buy or sell. Everybody can see the alert panel, right? Like the first thing right now, we're looking at AUDCHF. And what's the market saying we should do? We should put. But will I just go and click a put? No. The first thing I want to check is the trend. And the way Kevin will tell you to determine whether a trend is an uptrend or a downtrend. Please note, this strategy is not for a ranging market. It's either the market is moving up or is moving down. So let me ask a brief question. On this 5 minutes, everybody look at the screen. Do you think this market is moving up or is moving down? Overall direction you're seeing so far. If you think it's down, please put some downs on the chat box. Put some downs on the chat box. If you think it's up, put some ups on the chat box very quickly. If you think it's down, put down. If you think it's up, put up. If you're not sure, put not sure on the chat box, all right? Okay, I think a greater percentage of people say down. Good. Not sure. I'm seeing those not sure. If you're not sure, it's simple. You've not been watching the academy videos. Notice how the market is just moving from this point. It's been heading down. Don't worry, at some point it began to range. But yeah, some people are going to say it's a ranging market. Yeah, right here it's moving sideways. Right? I'm not here to teach full in-depth work. So let's just stick to this. But let's say you're looking from this point down to this point. This market is down. But because you're on the 5 minutes, you are not sure whether it's really, really down. So I'll go by the way Kevin will do it. It will say, to be sure what the trend looks like, you check at least 3 time frames. If they all align, the better. 3 time frames. If they all align, the better. So of course, it's always better you start from the daily. You can check what the 5 minutes is saying downtrend. You can go to the 15 minutes. On the 15 minutes, is it still moving down? Do you still think this market is still down on the 15 minutes? If you think it's still down on the 15 minutes, put a 1 on the chat box. If you're still looking down on the 15 minutes, put a 1. 1, good. So it's like we've seen 5 minutes, we've seen 15 minutes looking down, good. It will tell you 4 time frame, make a trend. So you want to be sure of the trend very well. Let's go to the 1 hour. Of course, sometimes everything may not align, but it's better when at least 4 aligns. So I'm on the 1 hour time frame right now. Do you think this is down? If you think 1 hour is down, put a 2 on the chat box. It's still moving down on 1 hour. If you think this market is moving down on 1 hour, drop a 2. Okay, some people are beginning to see up. So now we're getting confused. We can see both up, down, up, down. So it's more like confusion, right? Okay, but 5 minutes, remember 5 minutes, 15 minutes look down, right? 1 hour is looking like a bit as if it's moving up, right? So it's a bit confusing. 1 hour, look at it. This is not moving down. It's actually moving up on 1 hour. Look at this from where I put my cursor. It looks as if this market has been trending up on the 1 hour. So now let's go to the 4 hours, H4, then we go to the daily. You can get at least 4 of them looking like Now, we're looking at this on 4 hours. What are you seeing? Do you think this market is moving up or is moving down? In 4 hours, what are you seeing? What are you seeing on 4 hours? Up or down? Up or down? It's moving up. Great. It's moving up. Great. I'm looking for how to teach this strategy without having to teach a little bit of the basics. Because without the basics, trust me, it might not really make so much sense. That's why you need to have learned some things before you use strategy. Strategy is like the last result. It's looking up on 4 hours. Good. Now let's go to the daily. What are you seeing on the daily? Uptrend or downtrend? Up or down? This market on a daily time frame. Remember, 4 hours is looking up. 1 eye is looking up. Daily, what's daily looking up or down? Slightly moving up and consolidating. Leave the consolidating out. We're not yet to trade consolidating, but overall, this is moving up, ladies and gentlemen. So before you say an market is that's why you don't trade starting on the 5 minutes. You get confused, right? Like I always tell people, every trend has 2 moves. You need to first understand that, right? I don't want to confuse that teaching, but every trend has a major move, which is where the direction of the market is. So now what I've been able to see from this is overall, this market is on an uptrend on a bigger time frame. Now, because a bigger time frame is stronger than a smaller time frame, I would know that what I'm seeing on that 5 minutes that looks as if the market is selling is actually just a pullback, right? And it will tell you to use the strategy effectively. At least 3 of those trends must align. So if I was saying that daily says uptrend, 4 hours say uptrend, 1 hour also says uptrend, I think I will go with that, right? Then looking for a sell opportunity. So because I've been able to say, and that's why you're seeing this range that is happening. Eventually, this might break out. This might break out. So, but let's say we want to go by the daily time frame, or worst case, it will tell you it likes it when the 15 minutes align. When the 15 minutes, whatever you see on the 15 minutes, if you want to trade for 5 minutes, when you see it on 15 minutes, you still use 15 minutes for a 5 minute idea. But when you look at everything and like 3 to 4 is saying the same thing, it gives you better accuracy than when everything is looking confusing. If it's looking confusing, just move to the next pair straight up, right? Until about 3 or 4 of them is aligning. So let's say I'm on 15 minutes. Now, meaning the first thing you check, I just showed you that the first thing you need to check is either the market is on an uptrend or a downtrend. Now, another way to know whether it's on an uptrend or a downtrend, look at this red tick line. How many of us can see the red tick line on my lighting? When the line is red, red means we want to sell and is above the candles. Remember the conditions for sell you wrote down. This is the super trend. Super trend. This red tick one, just one straight line. I'm not talking about this trio. This red line. If you understand the red line I'm putting to on the screen, put it 2. If you can see it, the one I'm referring to right now, put it 2 on the chat box. Put it 2 on the chat box. Good. So that line is what we call the super trend. And sometimes it could be green. If you look to the left, this same line was previously green. You see it green when the market is looking like an uptrend. Remember, I said anytime you want to buy, everything is looking green. Anytime you want to sell, everything is looking red. So for a downtrend, it has to be above the candles. Right now, is it above those candles or is it below it? Who is writing on the screen? Jesus. Is it above the candles or is it below? Please, who is writing on the screen? Okay, thank you. I don't know what you're writing on the screen. Please delete. Don't cause confusion. Thank you. So, like I said, sometimes this this red line is called a super trend. If it's red, it's a possible indication for a sell. But before you sell, it must be above the candles. Like right now, you can see it's above those candles. So on this 15 minutes time frame, this is like saying this is a downward market. You can see it's been trending down and you have a super trend above and it's red. Pay attention to that color. It's red, right above and red, right? Now the third pointer, what's the pointer we wrote down? We now said the EMA. Remember I said the EMA line must be above the candles. You see this black line moving in between here is actually the EMA line. So this is like the third thing. It also has to be above the candles. Right now, is it above? I think I forgot to mention the arrow. Is this black line above this last candle right now? Is it above it? If it's above, put a 7 on the chat box. Yes, good. So that's another condition for a sell. It has to be above. Like right now, the candle is struggling right there. I won't be surprised this market might break out. But for you to sell, the candle must be below this black line also. So is this line is what we call the EMA. This is a super trend. This is the EMA line. So for another sell condition, this also has to be above the candles, right? Now, what's the next point on our agenda? I'm not sure if I put this arrow, but this arrow also has to appear. I'm not sure whether I mentioned that also. The red arrow has to appear for a sell. Like right now, you can also see the red arrow. It has to be indicating, pointing downwards for a sell. Just note, everything red is for sells. So when you see this super trend going red, arrow appearing going red, that's like 2 indications. This line above the candles, 3-pointer. Now, how many of us remember I was seeing stochastics? This is the stochastic. You can see the red and green, another red and green. What you have business is the red for a sell. So this black line moving in between is what we call the stochastics. Once it's on top of this red, it's already in the sell zone, right? Once it's at the red area, is in the sell zone. Once this is also at the red area, is in the sell zone. So I would only sell if 1, this is above the candles after I've established is a downtrend. 2, this is also above the candles. 3, a red arrow showing this. Of course, you can see the score. It's saying 5. Sometimes you see scores that say 1, 2. That's like saying lower probability, right? But when you're seeing a 5 and every other thing aligns, it most often goes in your direction. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. All those things you can look at it at a glance. Once this is also at the red, and this red, these are sell zones. So if this black line is at the red line, there's this. Then you also look at the currency strength. For a sell, the first currency is the base. Of course, we know that. The second is the quote. So meaning for you to sell, the second one has to be greater than the first. How many of us agree with that? That for you to sell, the quote has to be greater. If you agree with that, drop a 1 on the chat box. If you agree, drop a 1 on the chat box. Don't worry, I'll ask you to ask your questions later. Good. So now once all those things align, at least out of these 8 conditions, if you get 5 of them going, and the 5 must be preferably, Kevin said this is the last update. If this is above, this is above. Now notice this short red areas. Remember I said something about red areas. The candle has to be on the short red lines. I mentioned where are all the resistance zones. We've seen all those short red zones. Now, each time the market gets to each of those red lines, notice it, just look at it on the screen. You notice that there were sells occurred there. The blue candles are the buy candles. The red candles are the sell candles. Now, look at all those short red horizontal lines. Short ones. Notice that each time the candle got there, what kind caliber of candle are you seeing? Red candles. You see the market move down. All those red areas are sell areas. So if all the strategy aligns, the currency strength, the quote was stronger, this was above, this was also this. You see, once everything aligns and you get like 5 conditions, you can take the sell. But it now added a bonus, which is the timing. It said it's always better when the timing, when you see these conditions, probably around, this is 9:13, let's say 9:15. The strategy says sell, and you look at all those conditions and you're able to get like 6 of them, you can now go in for a sell. So I analyzed on 15 minutes. What it means is I can take that trade idea for 5 minutes if all my conditions align. But you see, it also said something, because sometimes you might not get alert at the half hourly or 9:15 or 9:30. Sometimes all the strategy might align and it might not even be at the half hourly. What it says is you can still take it at that point based on technicals, but you risk little as compared to when everything aligns on a timing. I don't know if I should take that again. Let's say these conditions meet probably around 9:05. 9:05 is not a quarter of an hour, right? If conditions, like 6 conditions meet out of the 8 conditions, you can take it. But instead of you risking probably 3% of your account on one trade, at that point, you could risk 1%. But when everything aligns, you can always risk your normal 2 to 3% per trade. Do we understand those pointers? So you can now take the trade idea for 5 minutes. If you understand what I just explained, please put an 8 on the chat box. If you understand, put an 8 on the chat box. If you understand, put an 8 on the chat box. Only one person has dropped an 8. You didn't get it. Okay, let me take it again. Now, you see the strategy when you use it for trading. Remember when you wrote down the points, we said it's better when you get the strategy at the half hourly. What is half an hour? That's 30 minutes now, right? So whatever time you start trading, what it means is you're looking to trade 9:15, 9:30, 10 o'clock. Let's say you got up in the morning, this strategy around 8 o'clock, 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, 9 o'clock. I'm explaining the timing now. Pay attention. I'm not going to go over this again. It's simple. If you start trading at 10, when is the next 1 hour? Is it not 11 o'clock? So when is half of 11 o'clock? That's 10:30. What half of 10:30? 10:15. Are you getting it? That's like saying every 15 minutes. So if it shows up either 15 minutes into a timing, 30 minutes, 1 hour, those are the timing. But sometimes you might get a trader like see this panel now, every 5 minutes, this strategy will tell you to either buy or sell every 5 minutes. So there are sometimes you check on the strategy. Like right now, this is 9:16. If everything aligns, I'll be able to trade. But let's say another strategy comes up at 9:20. 9:20 is not half hourly, neither is it quarterly hourly. I don't know if you understand that. But if the condition still meets for a sell at 9:20, will I say I'm not selling? No, you can sell at that 9:20 if 6 out of these 8 conditions align. But what we are saying is because it's not on timing, you risk a little as compared to when the signal aligns around the 15 minutes and 9:30. Do you get? If you understand now with this explanation, please drop 9. And please don't say you don't understand. If you were paying attention, you would understand. Good. So that explains the timing. All right. So that's the conditions for sell. Now, before we move to the buy, does anybody ask a question on this sell conditions? I think we touched everything. The number one thing is all those red lines. These are areas where you want to sell, all these short reds. So if the strategy calls a sell and you see that the last candle you're looking at is at the red area, you quickly look, is this black line above it? If the black line is above it, is this super trend or red line? Is it red? Is this one also at the red? Is this also at the red? These things, by the time you practice, you can look at it at a glance and quickly tell. And is this greater than this? Once it is, you can go in for your 5 minutes. But like I said, it's always better you analyze this thing on a 15 minutes if you know you're going to be trading on 5 minutes. But if you're not sure at seeing trends, maybe you can't take a look at your skin at once and tell whether this thing is a downtrend or a sell trend. What I think you need first, go to Educators Recorded Session, go and watch any training where they mentioned market structure, right? Market structure would help you understand whether the market is on an uptrend, a downtrend, or it's ranging. When you learn that, trust me, by the time you come back to strategy, you just be killing it. And they'll be wondering, what magic are you performing? You're not performing magic. You pay the price to learn, right? So is someone's mic unmuted? I need to mute that person. My laptop volume is also loud, so it's hard to hear anything. But I think I can get a glimpse of a faint background noise, right? If you're that person, please mute yourself. Sammy, please mute yourself. What's this? iPhone, mute. Daniel, mute yourself. I'm gonna throw you out of the, sorry, I'm not very nice. I'll throw you out of the meeting. Just mute yourself, right? So any questions, please type it on the chat box right away. I want to take questions on this cell. I'm gonna take questions on the cell right now. Just tell them to mute because I might not hear the noise on the background and it might be affecting you, right? So let me check for questions. If you have any questions on this cell, conditions for cell so far, drop it on the chat box, right? Somebody said, so you enter a cell at the last resistance. I don't understand what you mean by the last resistance. You enter a cell. If this strategy tells you to sell and you check and all those conditions meet, of course, you wait at the resistance just above you. If you now want to know deeper details of which resistance is best, go and watch videos, trainings on market structure, right? I'm only here to teach the strategy. Yes, that's how to get the entry points. So this is what you do. You would have opened a, hold on, let me take these questions one by one so I don't miss your own question, right? I'm trying to read through the chats. So at that point, let me say this. When the signal is given, notice on the alert panel, there is always an entry price called, right? There's always an entry price, but I also look at that entry price call. Is it around that red line? So this is it. Let's say this is a red line on the screen. Hold on. Let me look for a red line. Look at this red line, right? I'm putting my cursor on the red line. To the left side, there is a price highlighted in black around that red line. So if I put my cursor there and where the conditions meet is also that same number. It doesn't even matter what the number is because when you're on your broker, there's always a slight difference. But the moment the conditions hit and it touched that red line, you go and click on the sell on your broker on the same currency pair. So of course you would have timed it 5 minutes. You'd have switched your time to 5 minutes. And you know, if it's going to take you like 1 minute to quickly check those conditions, you can make the minute 4 minutes. You can go in for the trade for 4 minutes, right? But it's supposed to be a 5 minute idea. I'm saying because you're new, you might not be able to take a look at it at a glance. Whoever is drawing on the screen, may God have mercy on you. So let me look for another question. All right. I'm not answering that person. I'm saying I'm still confused about the timing. Go and watch Kevin Moore's recorded training on timing. People can ask any questions. I'm not here to teach Liberty. We are here for double blessing. So if you are using Liberty, go to Liberty's training later, right? This is just for double blessing. I said ask question on what I just explained. So I hope the person who asked on how to get an entry point, now you understand about the entry point, right? The entry point is where the strategy is telling you to sell, meaning at the red areas. All these red short lines are sell areas. If the strategy calls a sell and you see the candle approaching that red line, as long as this EMA is above, the red arrow appears pointing down. This super trend is also red above the candles. This is here. This is also at the red line. Going for yourself. As long as you can tell whether it's an uptrend or downtrend. Let me look for another question. Yes, the red short lines. Yes, Glory. I'm responding to Glory's iPhone right now. These short red lines are the sell zones. If the strategy calls a sell, remember I told you, if 6 of these points align, 6 out of 8, I mentioned 8 things to quickly watch out for a sell. If 6 align, take it. Now, if this thing is calling a sell right now, it wouldn't be sell right now. Notice the candles is above this black line. So even though this is red, it's still red, but the candles right now is above this. I wouldn't be selling. Then there is no short black red line there. I wouldn't be selling. So even if this is here and this is here, there is no red line there, so I'm not selling. Then the candle is above the black. I'm not selling. I don't know if you understand. Do you understand now? So Gloria, I hope I've answered your own question. Red short lines are the areas, sell areas. Strategies are aligned. The market is also in an half-hour position, but the market isn't pushing down. Yeah, can't force the market to push down. It does not mean that every half-hour the market is going to be pushing down. No. What did the strategy say you should do? The strategy said buy. So what you need to do is check the conditions for buy if it aligns. If it aligns, I explained that part. Even if we're not at the half-hourly time and the strategy aligns, risk little. But if everything aligns and the timing also aligns, risk your normal 3% or 2% per account. Some people have answered you. So it makes a lot of sense right now, right? Somebody is still asking, how do you get the range? I don't understand. The range is this red areas. If it calls a sell and every other thing meets, the red area is the range. If I put my cursor on the red line, you're seeing a price attached. But that price will be different from your broker's price. Trust me, either by 5 point, 10 points sometimes. So you just be watching the candle. The moment it's something I do sometimes. I could log in on my laptop. Either I open 2 browsers. If you're not fast, watch the strategy on the laptop. Log into your broker on your phone. So that as it's eating the red line, you are eating your phone. Chickena, right? If you understand this strategy right now, put a 2 on the chat box. So we go to the conditions for a buy. Now, let me ask a question very quickly. I'm going to ask those questions right on the same strategy. Now, look at less than a minute ago, AUD JPY called for a put. So what I would have done is click on that strategy immediately. Now, I want people to tell me at a glance, are you going to sell this right now? AUD JPY said we should put. Of course, the quote is stronger. So that's 1 point. You come back here, there is an arrow facing down. That's a 2 points, right? Remember, you're looking for like 5 to 6 out of 8. Just like the higher the confirmations, the better for you. So I've seen 1 point. I've seen the arrow facing down. That's 2 points. But number 3, my EMA line, this black line, is not above the candles down, meaning that condition did not align. I'm not selling. Then the next one, the super trend, is still red. But like I told you, before you're sure it's a downtrend, you can quickly change it to 1 hour, 4 hours, and see if all those conditions align. So you can quickly change to 1 hour. Is the super trend still above? Is red also. Okay. But you can see on 1 hour, the stochastic is not at this red area. This is not at the red area. It's not ready. So I would not be selling. And that was why that black EMA line was not above the candles when we were on 15 minutes. I don't know if you understand what I just said. So I would not pick that kind of sell. I would not pick. Look at, I changed it to 4 hours. On 4 hours now, you can see it's a buy. And that's why this is at the green area. This is at the green area. Remember, when you want to sell, it has to be at the red. It has to be at the red. So I would not pick that kind of sell. I'll leave that idea. Trust me, some people, they're going to take it on 5 minutes. And then because they're not patient, they'll lose their money. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Look at it right now on this 5 minutes. They say you should put, but the black line is not above the candle. So this is not a good set idea. I would ignore. If you understand, based on this example, please drop some 7s on the chat box. Drop those 7s on the chat box. Trust me, let me say this from my own experience. 80% of the time. Yes, but that 10 point is not fixed though. There are days it could be like 5, and there are days is more than that. That's Famaka. I understand you. I understand you. So yes, you want to do the minus, you can be doing the minus, but there's no need for that. Just watch, let the thing eat as it's eating the red zone. You to be eating your broker. You will need to calculate the price because you're not calling the price for anybody. It's just for you to take a decision, right? So if you understand based on what I just explained, I said we should drop what is 7. Yes, to confirm the trend. You know me, I'm used to, I can look at the trend and tell one time whether it's uptrend or downtrend, right? And normally when I want to see the best trend that tells you overall direction is always the daily. You start from the daily. If you really want to know the trend of the market, check what the daily is saying. If the daily and the 4 hours are saying the same thing, that's the real trend. Everything you see in the 5 minutes, 15 minutes, those are part of what form the major trend. It's like the overall direction. Do you get? It's like saying, let's say you're based in Lagos, you're going to the island. The island is your final destination. But you know, along the way, you're going to see small bus stops. Those small bus stops is not your destination. Probably the vehicle post, you bought something, that's not your final destination, right? All those small bus stops will still align for you to get to your destination. So you see all those 5 minutes, 15 minutes, those are just part of the journey. When I'm looking for a trend, I always tell my students, you don't check for a trend on 1 hour safe or 5 hours. Those ones can be, 5 or 15 minutes. Those ones are deceptive. The major trend is 4 hours daily. So most times if daily 4 hours, 1 hour is aligning, right? I'm waiting in that direction. So if it's an uptrend on those directions, I'm waiting. So when I go to the 15 minutes, so let's say daily was saying sell and I'm saying a buy on 5 minutes, I will not treat that buy. Excuse me. Do you understand? Excuse me. I'll now wait for when the 5 minutes or 15 minutes says sell. When it now says sell, because I've seen that daily 4 hours is all and 1 hour is already saying sell, I will now check the conditions on that short time. When it now says sells, if 6 of them meet, I go in. Now notice the ones I said are more important. Apart from the currency strength, I'm particular about this EMA lines and the red lines. So this for me is key. This short red when I'm selling at the areas I want to sell. The market is always going to respect every red areas, but that is not the only confirmation because somebody asks, that's not the major zone. Then Kevin will say, okay, I think I forgot this. Let me also explain so you know which zone is much more important. When we want to sell, right? Let me go a little bit advanced, but then, like I said, you need to understand market structure. Where we want to sell on this market, the best place to sell, trust me, because you don't need to pick every sell. Just like I said, the best place to sell is always a previous floor that became resistance. And if you don't understand this one, I don't know how to explain. But floors means where the market bought from in the past. Meaning where there were blue candles in the past, but the market later broke it. So that's like a previous floor that became resistance. Let me use this analogy. Remember, if you're moving from the 5th floor, everybody where you are, imagine yourself on the 5th floor of a building. On the 5th floor, you're coming to the ground floor. That's like moving in a downtrend, is it not? Now, on your way to get to the ground floor, you must break through the 4th floor. Right? Yes or yes. If you agree with me, you must break through the 4th floor. You must break again the 3rd floor to get to the 2nd floor. So all those floors you are breaking is becoming the resistance. If you're on the 5th floor, right? Someone below you, that's their own roof. What is supporting you on the 5th floor is the roof to those on the 4th floor. Do you agree? The floor supporting you on the 5th floor is the roof to somebody on the 4th floor. So that's why we say a floor that became a roof. Because the more you go down, as you break through it, if you move from the 5th floor to the 4th floor, the roof of those on the 3rd floor will be what is supporting you, right? So as you're breaking it on your way down, each time you break a support, it becomes a resistance. So like this, look at where I'm highlighting on the screen, where you have all these blue candles going up from, all those green areas, where previous support. But notice because the market was moving down, at some point, it will break all these green areas. You see a red candle. the market will go back there. Now, anytime it goes back there to reconfirm, once you see that red line, that's where you want to sell. So this is the previous floor that became resistance. That's what it means. Yeah, to look at where I'm pointing to right now. Buys happened from there. So that was a support. Buys happened from there. That was a support. But all of a sudden, this red big candle broke through it. The way it broke, right? It's now like becoming a roof. But you are not meant to jump in until the market tells you again that it's a roof. You want to go reconfirm. So if I was selling this market, I wouldn't be selling even all these short areas where you average. No, I'll be waiting for a major one, like here, because I've not seen the market come back there to reconfirm. If this is confusing for you, no problem. For those people who understand a little bit of markets, right? Let me use another analogy. You guys might get this. It's like you playing a football match. The first time you score 1-0, it's not guaranteed that that's the winning party, right? But by the time they put 2-0, it gives you higher probability that, oh, these people might lead. So anytime you break a floor the first time, it's not a guarantee that now the sellers are taking over. It's always better that the sellers go back there. By the time they go back there to reconfirm, then it becomes, oh, it's like going back there to score the second time. So that place becomes a solid zone. That's what we mean by support that became resistance. This was a previous support. Then the market broke it. When the market broke it here, what happened again? It moved back here, right into the same zone, and it reconfirmed and sold from there. So if I was selling, I would have been waiting for this. The minute it broke, I wouldn't jump in. I won't even take this buys. I'll be waiting to sell when it comes back to this red zone. So if this red zone was here, of course, I'm sure the strategy, everything would have aligned. I would have taken that trade idea. If you understand a little bit of what I just explained, please put some fires on the chat box. Put some fires. Ikasho said, Man City can testify to that. Me, I don't understand. So if you understand, put those fires on the chat box. If you understand, put those fires. Okay, great. So now we'll be moving to bites, right? I need to be sure majority of people understand. Okay, great, amazing. So even though that's why you need to join educators. If you seek every analyzing, it's going to map out like 4 zones, not just 1 zone. But it will tell you this one is the bigger zone. This is where I will wait. So some people will jump in at all those short zones. It calls them fast fingers. You know, you quickly jump in 2 minutes, 1 minute. If you've ever been on my trading session, if you see me call a trade idea for 1 minute, 2 minutes, I'll tell you risk low, because those areas are not major zones, even though the market reacts there. But when we get to the real zone where I'm waiting, I go in with my full chest. I'm not saying go in with all your account though. Do you understand? So now let's go to the conditions for buys. Ladies and gentlemen, so at this juncture, is there no questions on sells any longer before we move to buy? No question. If you still have a question on sell, I think I'm willing to take one more question on this sell condition before we go further. If no questions, let me go into the buy right now. I'm giving 2 minutes for that. If you have a question on sell, please type it. Let it be a question on what I thought to. Don't come and ask me liberty strategy, please. I'm teaching double blessing right now. Double blessing in case you join late. All right, no question. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So moving to the conditions for a buy. Right? I don't know who drew on the screen. I think I might refresh. Let's see if it's going. Don't have mercy on this person. Okay, so going to the conditions for a buy, right? Now there is always a navigation button on your screen, just beneath the screen, so you can always look for. You can see zoom in, zoom out, plus and minus. If you want to move to the last part, you just move this, and you can always zoom out. Remember, so just like our pointers for the buy, we said we must be on an uptrend. That's the number 1 condition when you're looking for a buy. So major on uptrend, that's another thing you want to look for. Is this market on an uptrend or a downtrend? That's how you ascertain whether you want to buy in the first place. Now, the mistake most people do is when it comes to trading, listen, the most important thing is to follow the trend. Every rich man will tell you the trend is your friend. Now, in every trend, because we have both major and pullback, every trend has both buy and sell. So even if you say something is on a uptrend, you are still going to see sales inside, but you are not meant to trade the sales. And that's a mistake you do. If you trade it's like saying you're going to from the ground floor to the 5th floor. Everybody is facing up. You are now facing down and everybody is going up. You know, it's you against 1,000. And of course you can't win. So if the banks are going up and you with your $100 is facing down, you know, you already know the answer to that. You can't win against 6.6 trillion. So it's always better you want to trade in the direction the big money is moving. So that's why the first condition here, once I hit on any currency pair, like this now, in the next 1 minute, an idea is going to come out. It's going to tell us whether we are buying or selling. So if it tells me to buy, I'm going to check, are we on an uptrend? If it tells me to sell, I'm going to check what are the conditions for downtrend and every other condition. If it aligns, I sell. If it does not align, I move, right? So I'm waiting for the next 1 minute so we can use the next signal that comes out as an indication. Then I'll now give you all the little additions to this strategy you can also watch out for that I use that works. So 1 minute, remember we said based on timing, right? I was teaching about timing. Now, an idea is going to come out at 9:40. 9:40 is not half hourly. So even if all the conditions align, I will take it with low risk. But let's say this signal came out at 9:45. That's quarter of an hour, right? And the conditions, if they say buy or sell and the conditions align, I'll buy more with full chest, right? I hope you understand. So I'm just waiting for 9:40 so I can analyze the next signal that comes out. This is already 5 minutes. You're going to see change it to good. You can see a signal came out on Euro USD right now. What did he say? Call. So quickly, what I'll do, the moment I see that call, I'm already looking at it and I'm already seeing a super trend that is red. So meaning I should be seeing a green for a call. So it's a no on 5 minutes. I quickly change it to 15 minutes. That's why I said these things you can do it in short time. 15 minutes is also saying downtrend. 1 hour, downtrend. Are you seeing it? It's saying I should buy, but I've seen 3 trends that are all downtrend. Now, are you seeing 4 hour? 4 hour is also red. It's moving down. So this kind of buy, I would ignore. Like I've already seen 4 things that I established that this was a downtrend. So what I'll be looking for on Euro USD now is when the strategy is going to tell me to sell, because I've seen that the market is for a downtrend. I don't know if you understand. 4 time frames set down. So even though it called a buy, I'll just look away. Then when it now calls sell, I'll now check if all my conditions align because I've established that it's on a downtrend. So if you now call sell, what I'm looking for is where is the nearest red, short red line? Is this EMA? Is it above the candle? Is it at the red? Is this at the red? And is the arrow applied for a red? I take it because I already saw that on 4 time frame, everything was saying sell. So this kind of buy right now that I said I should buy, I was looking for an example for a buy. I'm not going to buy it. I'm just going to look away. I hope we get that. That's how to check the trend. So I'm looking for another buy condition to use to explain. The majority of the market right now is most likely going to be doing pullback. So we might not get really what we want. Okay, let me use Euro NZD. Euro NZD said a call. Now look at, ladies and gentlemen. God, who drew all these things on the screen? Now look at the super trend line. It's a green right now. Can you see that thick line? But right now it's not thick because it's in between the candles, but it's always the thick line, big one. So you just try to pay attention. Let me zoom out. Let me zoom out on my screen. So this is called a buy, right? Can you see the super trend line on 5 minutes? It was a green. That's number 1. I quickly want to check 15 minutes. Was this for a buy? So good. It's still for the uptrend. 2 on 15 minutes. 1 hour. Green. Can you see this? 3 time frame is saying green, meaning it's on an uptrend. Let me check 4 hours. 4 hours says green also. Good. This is a perfect example of an uptrend. So every buy that was called on this page, what I'll be looking for, I'll not even be looking at the sell because I've established that on 4 time frames is on an uptrend. So what I would have done is gone to the 5 minutes or 15 minutes to analyze. So if the market now says buy on 15 minutes, I quickly take a look at it. Where is this last candle? Is it sitting on a short green line? If it's sitting on a short green line, that's one. Stochastics and RSI, are they at the green areas? Yes, green areas. This is also sitting on the green area. And is the currency strength, is the base stronger? Yes. Is the black line below? Yes. The moment I saw this on 15 minutes, I can take this trade for either 5 minutes or 15 minutes idea, and I'll buy with my full chest because I already established that all the trend was an uptrend, and you can see the arrow. In fact, this trade is almost like an 8-pointer idea. 1, the currency strength. 2, the major uptrend. You can see the arrow is number 3. Was it below the black EMA line? That's number 4. Was this at the green area? Number 5. Was this number 6? Did you get? And the score point, number 7. Then I can now look, if I just want to, is he at the support area? How do you know the support area? These were the buy zones before. All those short green lines. It's like 7. So the last thing now is just timing. 9:45. If by 9:45, this thing calls buy, seeing all these confirmations, I will buy with my full chest because now it's aligning with timing. We've seen this. If you saw that, drop a 1 on the chat box. Like everything is aligning on timing. 9:45 is like quarterly of an hour. If it calls buy now, what am I doing? I'm buying, right? Hope you saw that. So when you go for these confirmations, don't be in a hurry to jump into the trade. Let everything align. If you saw that, if you understand those buy conditions, please drop cents on the chat box. If it's making sense, drop a cent. That's why you see them sometimes they'll say going for 5 to 15 minutes because I've checked 1 hour, 4 hours, everything aligns. And then where is the market? You can see it's gradually turning green. This line is gradually moving up, gradually. But because of the time we have the market right now, there is low momentum because market is about closing. That's why it's not moving very fast. If this was during the day, it would have left you, right? So that's it. Trust me, if you follow these rules, you win 90% of the time. If you follow the rules. But if you just want to jump in, you're going to jump out. Or of course, that's after you've donated your money. That's the condition for buy. Is it hard? Is it really hard? I know the first time it might look, plenty conditions. But in reality, the more you practice it, you can almost tell because it doesn't take you 1 minute to look at where this is. You can simply tell if this is at the green, this is at the green in just one glance, and you can see this green at a glance. So it's not hard, but it's because this is your first time, right? Now, notice one thing I did not mention, although Kevin did not add this, but these things, we've seen the B and S here, BS. I also pay attention to this BS. This means buyers are in place. S means sellers. So if I'm seeing, let's say this thing called the buy, right? And I'm seeing S. I want to give you a trick to this thing now. Please pay attention. Are we together? Okay, we finished typing sense, right? Thank you, Elizabeth. It's not easy. It's not easy. Okay, right? I'm not a good teacher, but I hope I'm trying. So let me give you one quick trick because I know some people are always going to go for 5-minute trades and all of that. If the signal tells you to buy and you are still seeing a S, although you are seeing that the market is around the green area, green line and all, once you see that S there, don't spend more time. Once I see an S, am I going for 1 minute or 2 minutes and be out? It's not even advisable. Do you get? But in that case, if you are seeing S and everything was saying buy, the truth is you're not going to be having the full confirmations like this. But if you have the full confirmations, see when we saw buy, you can see it was also on B. But if it was not, or if it was an S you were seeing instead of the buy, you will notice that at the point you're counting, you might see that all these things will also not align. So let's say you forget to check, maybe you were just checking on 5 and 15 minutes, you didn't go to 4 hours, 1 hour, and the strategy told you buy, and you are seeing that everything also aligns. You can take it for 5 minutes. But let's say you're seeing an S and it's saying buy, and you got like 5 points also for a buy, but you're seeing S, don't spend your full 5 minutes. So extremely low risk, and you go for shorter time. If you understand that's what I just explained, please drop a 1. It's not for everybody anyway. If you understand that, please drop a 1. If you understand that B and S part I just mentioned, drop a word on the chat box. So most times I add that personally as a trick. Once they tell me buy, and I've seen that every other thing is saying buy. But the truth is you could be ready to buy, because all those zones, these things are indicators. It's like you going to a place for the first time and you're asking like 10 people or 8 people. You know, if 8 people are saying the same thing, there's higher probability that that road they are giving you, that description, is likely going to be a good way. But if out of 8 people, 3 people are saying that's the road, haven't you met people in Lagos that will give you a wrong direction? Then at that point, you have to be careful, right? But if 8 of them are saying this way, trust me, you can hardly be wrong, right? So when they tell you 4.45, like Kevin will tell you, okay, 5 points is not bad. But for me, I'll risk very little in a 5-point system, as compared to when I see 7 conditions or 8 conditions aligning. Man, I'll go in with my 3%. I hope you all understand. So at this juncture, let me give room for questions. If you have any questions on this buy I just explained, please put it on the chat box. Put it on the chat box. Time for questions. Ask your questions on the buy. Okay, I'm going to take the BNS again, but don't let it confuse you. I'm saying it's just a little trick. Then does buying for a longer time means higher profit? No, we're on HFX. So HFX means fixed profits. So whether you are going for 15 minutes or 5 minutes, the moment you already hit the button, before you hit the button, you already see the profit once you put the amount. So it's the same amount they'll give you. The reason why I would take higher timing, sometimes longer, is because there's something we call 3 candle rule. I don't really want to teach. Like if I want to teach Forex, people will know, you know, wait here. Right? There's 3 candles. Sometimes that market might not move in 5 minutes very fast. It's like knowing, okay, we know this thing's going to buy. But on that 5 minutes, it did not move away from your entry. You end up losing money. But we can expect that before the next 3 candle closes, because for a 5 minutes, let's say at 9:50 right now, a candle is going to open and close by 9:55. Another one. So before that timing, by the time 3 candles are formed, that's 15 minutes. It's likely to have moved from your entry point to that. So it might, haven't you seen on live sessions where they will say, oh, if you had entered for 15 minutes, you would have cleared. That's why sometimes you need to roll over, right? If you enter 5 minutes, you say, oh, it has not moved, but we know it's still going up. So we'll hit the rollover button. But if you had gone in for a 15 minutes, most times you would have cleared. If you're the type to trade Euro AUD pairs very well, or Euro card, you will know that that pair always requires time. So if you go in for 5 minutes, it might not move, even though everything has already told you sell. You might still be waiting there and not moving in that 5 minutes. But by the time you go in for 15 minutes, you just see that after like 10 minutes, the thing will just start moving fast. If you know, if I had known, I would have hit the rollover button. I hope you understand that. For longer time frame, that's for Grace, or is it Gracie? Then the B and S. Okay. Somebody says the B and S. Let me take that again. See, just B means buyers. Nothing is that. S means sellers. So it's like saying, when you go on your screen and you're seeing B, it's like saying, hey, the buyers are still around. If you're going to sell something in someone's house and the police is still around, what does it mean? You'll not be free, is it not? So you want to sell and you're still saying that the buyers are here. I'll be careful with that kind of sell, is it not? So what it means is, if the strategy is supposed to say 5 minutes, I want to go in for 2 minutes. But trust me, like I said, if you confirm all those things I say you should confirm, most often this would also align. B and S will align. So S is like saying sellers. You can see we established that this was an uptrend, right? And that's why you're seeing B, because everything aligned. Look at this market was at the green, like I said that time. Can you see it's there facing up? That facing up means it's there moving. And that's why you're seeing eventually this movement. But this movement is slow, like I told you, because the market is about closing. That's why it's very slow. But at this point where this strategy called a buy, everything all else aligned. Did you get everything else aligned? So that's when you see B. But if the way I saw uptrend here now, let's say I forgot to check, because it's going to happen to you. Sometimes you might go and forget to go and check the trend on 1 hour and 4 hours. Probably you just jump in on 5 minutes and you say, oh, green is here. Black line is also below for a buy. Is that B? Is that green? Is that green? This is stronger. You quickly want to jump in on your buy. But if you're seeing S, yeah, instead of me going for 5 minutes, the moment I see that S, I'll go in for just 2 minutes or even 1 minute, right? But if it's B that is there and everything aligns for a buy conditions, out of those 8 points you wrote down, 6 of them aligned, you are good to go. I hope I answered that person that asked for B and S. Did I answer your question? Please reply. Daniel, that green arrow score is also another indication. It's one of the conditions for a buy. Like this arrow, everybody, can you see that it's saying when it said buy, you're seeing a call score also with an arrow facing up for a buy. So this is also one of the conditions you consider. But once the score is low, I'll be very careful. Because this is saying 2. It's like saying the overall highest mark is supposed to be 6. So it's like saying 8 students are the ones that have 6 mark. 5, oh, very good. 4, good. 3, average students. Would you trust your money with an average student? Then when you see a score of 2 over 6, that's a poor score. So if he's telling me to buy and I'm seeing that the score is 2, I'll be very careful at that point. There was a time this thing was high. When it's high, 6, maybe when you're seeing 6 or 5 and everything aligned, that's when you'll be seeing this kind of move, this kind of buy move that went up, right? But the moment the score is becoming low, score point 1, you are saying 1, you are saying 2, yeah, we even ignore pata. Right? But once I see 4 is not bad, that's like saying you're a good student. 4 over 6, you're trying. 5, oh, very good student. 6, excellent. But you see that your 6, your score, it must still align with other conditions, because there are days you will see call score 6, but the EMA is not below the candle for a buy. And even though this one is saying 6, or this is not aligning, or this is not here. In fact, let me now say this, most times you will see this at this black, this stochastic is already here. Or sorry, the RSI. Then you are waiting for this to get to the green line. Until this get there, don't buy. I hope you understand now. So that person that asked the score points, Daniel, I hope I answered that. Daniel, please reply. Have I answered your green arrow? Okay, good. So that's the essence of that score points. It's just like a grading system. So trust me, you have 8 conditions on this strategy. If you take 6 are correct. 80% of the time, you'll be right. Now, this is the best way to learn. What I tell people is have your own experience, right? You can't master what you have not experienced. So what you want to go do, you've learned this condition. And what I always tell people is, see, anything you learn in the financial markets, if you don't practice it within the next 24 hours, there's every probability you're going to forget 80% of what was discussed. So once I learn something new, this is what I go do. I get on my demo and I start trading based on these conditions. I want to experience it. This thing they are saying, is it real? Let me take trades. So I go on, I take 20 trades. I wait for it. If you really follow the conditions and you see like 80% win rate, 70%, that's a good one, right? That way you know whether it's working or not. Don't just believe everything we tell you. You to go and experience it. That's how you learn. All right. And like I always say, if you don't understand market structure and you are using strategy, you're wrong, because you won't know. Even when the trend is flipping, you won't be able to tell. So what you want to go and do, let me give you an assignment, everybody. Go on all the educators. My favorite is Kevria at any point in time. Then Dr. Onodipe, go and watch their trainings on market structure, charting, timing. Kevria has a lecture on timing, on market structure, on even this double blessing. So that in case I omitted anything, you go there and watch it and it's going to make sense. Like, okay, coach, don't forget this. And apart from that, the training Kevria did since Tuesday this week has been on this strategy. Tuesday, Wednesday, and today's Thursday. The 3 trainings we did so far are on this same double blessing. So if you go back and now rewatch from Tuesdays, Wednesday till today, it's going to make more sense, right? I can tell you because I was on their session. So you, if you're not joining their session, you're wrong. All right, any question? What's the minimum point, like the minimum condition to take the trade? I said that already. That's 5. If you have 5 points, it's okay. But if you have 6, 7, it's even better. I hope you understand the meaning of that now. So if you're taking a trade based on 5 conditions, you know the money you risk is different from when you have like 7 confirmations or the 8 confirmations. That's even better. So if I have 5, what I'm doing is I'm risking 1% of my account on that trade. When I have the 7 and the 8, I'm going for my 3% per trade. I hope all questions have been answered. Any other question? All right, in the absence of no question, please drop value on the chat box. If you got value, don't drop value without meaning it. All right, if you mean it like you actually got value, if you know you did not get value, please don't drop value. I don't appreciate liars, right? But if you actually got value, type those values like you actually mean it because you got value. All right. All right. Okay. Okay, so I think a lot of people got value, and I'm good with that. At least if 50% of the class got value, that's a good one. Don't worry, the real goat is Kevin Moore. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so for those asking for the recording, hopefully Coach Emma will be able to help us with that recording later. All right, probably she's gonna send it to the group. Thank you. It was an amazing time. Please have a wonderful night rest, everybody. Bye.